did you bring your baby to Winwood for the first time?
First time in Winwood, that would have been Logan Hicks became a good friend in the early 2000s. And there's some artists out there who, I won't say are for themselves, but they're driven and they do stuff. There's other artists who try to get everyone involved and make things. People like Tristan Eaton was always good at trying to get everyone involved, and Logan was brilliant at it. And I remember him saying, okay, Chaz, we've got, he introduced me to a guy called Books Bischoff out here who does primary, who's a good friend, although I haven't seen him this year so far. And he was one of the first ones that got Winwood going. Everyone thinks it was Winwood Walls. And Winwood Walls has, the right
primary flight
to a lot of
so Winwood Walls started in 2009. Primary flights were here before 2003 or so.
That's right. So Books was getting, I think David Cho was here, and Logan and Ron English, and few of us were just in these streets. It was just Northwest 2nd here and 25th, 26th. Now, there's a guy called David Lombardi who was in real estate around there, and he was also very instrumental. I didn't know about Goldman at that time, but obviously in the next few years, it came to light that he obviously saw what was going on as the murals popped up. So I'd say it was 2006, 7. And
because Tony didn't get him until 2009. He bought 18 properties, started Winwood Walls. He already had been here in the 80s. He did a lot of development in South Beach. That's how he already knew the area. And, having grown up in New York City and being, aware of the street art, movement up there, he sort of put both together here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lombardi had a load of properties in this area. So
he still does.
Walls were being given to artists. And so Logan had invited me out for I think he recommended me to Books. And at the same time, I was doing something with, it was they were out of LA, Scion Gallery. That was it was all funded through the Scion car company, but they were doing cool sort of projects. So we did a show over in, the Shelbourne or something like that. And then people would come here and paint. And that was the first years where you'd paint in the street here and then do a show on the other side. And I remember at some point the art fairs just got bigger, and every year we got more and more people let's go out to Miami, Art Basel, and get walls. And I remember within about 3 or 4 years, hundreds of walls were getting done everywhere, all around, and it became a big thing, and events were happening, and people were hiring out these spaces and doing little shows. And then, of course, Winwood Walls started, and that was massive because you had some of the biggest artists in the game, doing their stuff there, Futura and Shepard Fairey, and we're all coming through Jeffrey Deitch, and we all know the story of how that formed. So it was an exciting place to come here, and you really wanted.
It was electric being here.
Yeah, you wanted to come and get up.
I remember my first Art Basel. I had no idea. I had been coming to here daily because I was taking pictures, and I come here in around this time of year in 2012, and there's artists everywhere, and they're painting, and I'm like, what's going on? And I start asking people, hey, what are you doing? And and that's how I started doing this. Yeah. That's how I met, you guys, and I met other artists because I was taking pictures in the street, and I'd say, hey man, what are you up to? What are you from? What are you doing?
That's right. Everyone got to know each other. Yeah. There was a guy called Timmy the Toaster. You remember? It was
so cool that you could do that. You could, and not only that, but it was like an amazing art education, watching you guys paint and watching how everybody was using basically the same tools. Paint, painting on the wall and whatever. But even if you're using spray paint or regular paint, everybody used it a little different. Your techniques were different. How you made your sketch was different. So it's fascinating to see that happening before you.
And how organic was it as well? Because no one was getting paid.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe you got some paint chucked in. There was a little sponsor, but you got a wall, and maybe someone on the wall would heat up a little bit of cash or something, or get you a scaffolding or something. People wanted.
They would come to Winwood, see if they could get a wall.
Yeah.
People still do.
People, exactly. I remember one day, my good friend Rowan from Australia, Rowan? I remember him coming one year, and no one knew who he was, and he realized that he just needed to get out here and get up. And all he did, he spent the whole weekend just walking around putting up these little, these beautiful portraits with his Roman style. But he was in like nasty little corners that just smelt of urine and dead rats. I was like,
well, that was Winwood.
Yeah, well, you had to find your space. Yeah. And but after a few years, there wasn't much space
and as
left.
dirty as nasty as Winwood was, that was amazing.
It was, and then I remember within 2 years, Rome was doing big installations and getting asked to do big walls and stuff like that. That's how you got out here. You got yourself in the mix, and your reward was that people would recognise if you were doing something good, and they would give you walls the next time. So
I remember the first time I saw you guys, it was at Win 317 when they had the gallery back here, and you were painting on a blue wall. You had the scaffolding up there. I remember, I think it was Bob that was doing a halftone by hand. And I was like blown away that you could do that without, I can do it in Photoshop with a filter, but like just doing it by hand out of your head, I was like blowing my mind.
Yeah, no, Bob's like a robot. I sometimes wonder if he's real. He's like a robot been sent to help me. He's very, the way his brain works, he can draw anything, and he's always finds a way to make what we want to do happen. Mm. But the most interesting thing following on from your question was like when Winwood Walls opened, you definitely, as an artist, especially at the time, because this was 13 years, you were eager to get in here.
You were.
It started to be like,
I was going to get to that. I was going to get to that.
I mean, it was one thing for having a few murals.
From painting outside the walls.
Yeah. I want to get in
inside
here.
the walls.
And that's because you've got a much bigger ego when you're on the way up. And I remember thinking, we got to get in there. So we got given a wall. My dear friend Highland Mather, he's from it's called the Lost Object. If you get to see that on Instagram, he picks up stuff from the street and he turns it into art. But he does it really well. He gets bits of wood, he sands it down, he adds string and nails, and he makes beautiful artwork. He had the chance to curate a little project in a parking lot. On 27th, I think, where now there's a giant condo. And that was the whole idea. This place was going to be a condo, but for 6 months it was a parking lot. And we had walls, and he invited Lister and Elle and a whole bunch of us. Gallo was there. And it was a great time. And I said to Bob, look, we need to bring our A game here, do our best work, and hopefully we get recognised. Because as you went around the streets, you could the best pieces were popping out. Of course, let's go and see the running chart. The retina's over there.
Being here and walking down Northwest Second, and it was like one amazing piece after another.
Yeah,
and it was amazing. It's like an open art, a street gallery, and and stuff that should be in a museum. Behind glass was in the street and you could touch it.
Yeah, yes.
And that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because it was so, I love this thing that I love about street art is that it's so personal. Other art, like if I go see the Mona Lisa, there's 50 million people, it's behind glass. I can, but here I can look at it.
Well, and the old dead is always.
Yeah, and sometimes I get to meet the artist and have a conversation with them and say, "Hey, why are you doing this? What's it for? What are you thinking?"
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying earlier,
and that's fascinating.
It is absolutely. I was lucky enough to get here on time, but you guys were half an hour late setting up. So I was okay. It was fair. I got to walk around the walls, and Carlos Mer was presenting his sculptures out there. And it was wonderful to listen from the artist, the insight to what was behind it and how he feels about it and what it means to him. You look at any piece of art or take any artist, you can go deeper into it and find out about it. And that's the beauty of, if you like art, what it is.
That's the purpose of that podcast.
Yeah, you find a new artist and you go, okay, I'm interested in this guy. What's he going? Dan Kitchener. Oh, right. Okay. You start going on his Instagram. Oh, wow. He's done this here. Oh, wow. Look at that. This is cool. Oh, and then suddenly you make new friends and new followers and fans of your work. And I'm of course fans of a lot of the other guys too. But getting back onto the
first time you were in Winwood. Yeah.
Well, we did that piece and it was a black and white piece. Which is really exciting. I've got to turn my phone off.
And I do actually, this is the first time that I met you because you had a filming crew, someone filming you from the outside, and you were all dressed up with the police office, with the...
that was Soren Solkjær. He's an amazing photographer.
I walked by And then what I got from you was a flip over bird, which is going to be on that podcast, because that picture of you flipping the bird at me, I said, okay, this was your high.
What it was is Søren Solkar is an amazing photographer, and he comes out of Denmark, and he's obviously saw this thing was happening too, and he wanted to go around and get interesting portraits of all the different artists. So he heard about us. So he said, look, a lot of people come up and give you their ideas, whatever. Yeah. He kind of goes, yeah, if I come tomorrow with like police uniforms and stuff, are you okay to do a photo? Oh, yeah, sure. Like, whatever, mate. Like, is this going to happen or what? So we carry on. The next day he does. He turns up and he had an assistant. He had lights. We got these police uniforms on.
Yes.
And he took what was probably I think one of the better portraits that anyone's ever taken of us. We use it a lot. To be honest, us two running down the road past our piece. It came out in a book of his, I can't remember exactly the name now, but it's a wonderful book with loads of great pictures of different artists of the time. And that was funny because, we were dressed up like cops. And while he was waiting, doing all the setup and stuff, me and Bob are standing there, and like people are coming down the street in the cars, and I'm like stopping them. Yo, buddy, wind your window down. The guy looking at me, I go, what are you doing? Get out of here. Keep it moving. I just everything's fucking with people. And like, people really thought we were cops or something. They started running after each other and everyone's like, what's going on? Like, that was a great day. That was a nice moment in that year. And there's always nice moments in every year that build the stories of Windward. But what's funny about that is, number one, not only did it get David Lombardi, who had already painted his place a couple of years, he came back and said, guys, this is fantastic. Next year, I want you on my wall. And that was the big yellow and blue one with the girl reaching down.
Yes.
Which is
from the Wing 37.
Yeah, he had his office, I think, right in that building.
And that was one of the better pieces that we'd ever done at the time. We went full, like, we need to go full. And then the next year, we got the nod to Windward Walls. So Jessica must have seen that.
Had the long wall.
Oh, yeah, maybe we need these guys in here.
I remember you wrote the names of the different people from Windward Walls in there.
That's right. That was 2015 that we came into Windward Walls the first time. And the other interesting thing about that first piece on 27th was that the guy who was doing all the plans, the condo going up, he said, look, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to knock this down. But how about this? When we've built the condo, we'll get you back and you can remake this piece on the roof or something like that. Well, yeah, sure, we do that, mate. I think 11 years later, this year, we came back into the condo and we painted the same piece.
You did?
in the entrance hall from the front door to the lift. If you can go and see it, it's on 27th. You can't get in, but you can see it through a glass window.
Okay.
And that was the replica. That was the replica of the piece that we did.
You were painting, and this is the first time that I met Findak, who was also painting right next to Elle. And you had Buff Monster on the other side, and a couple of other people that I forgot. But Buff Monster, Elle, and Findak were there with you.
That's right, yeah. And Terry came over, did a Secret Wars thing over there. And it was just this great buzz. Everyone wanted to be here. And suddenly there were parties going on every night.
Construction site. They had like the plan for the building in the middle. I'm sure you've seen it.
And it must have been around this time that I found Max Club Deuce. One of the greatest bars ever in the whole world.
Shout out to
and if anyone knows me, you know that I'm a bar fly, and I like hanging out in bars and talking to people, and I'd rather do that than go to clubs or parties too much. I like sitting around and talking, and the Deuce became one of my spiritual homes here in Miami, and that still to this day, they adopted me as a sort of like a house artist. So they let me draw on the outside of the Deuce every year. I try and change it, and they let me draw inside as well. And I feel very honoured because not many artists
get that. If you want to come and my house inside the house,
it's not going to happen.
You're more than welcome.
Not going to happen.
So, what's the story of that huge building behind this where we are? That you painted last year, the mural that you painted last year.
Oh, this one last year.
Yes, this one, yes.
Yeah.
Which is really a good masterpiece in Windward Walls.
Yeah, I always remember Tristan Eaton, when he got his first piece of the Windward Walls, he did one of the lesser walls. It was outside the Windward Walls on 26th. And it was a small one. And I remember him saying to me, I said to them, I'll do that little one if you give me a bigger one in a couple of years' time. because obviously he had ambition too. He wanted to be in it. And that's exactly what happened. He ended up doing a bigger wall inside the walls.
Yes.
And I remember saying that as well to Bob. I said, we got given that long wall in 2015. That was a really tough wall. It's very hard to photograph. It's elongated. Yeah. You can't really get a single photo of the whole thing. But we did a nice piece, I think, with that. But we said to Jessica at the time, listen, just letting you know, we worked really hard on that one there, and that was a tough wall. If you want to give us a big boy wall, like one of these guys, there's our hats in the ring. We're down. And we promise you that if we do it, we're going to do the best piece we've ever done, and we're going to try and do the best piece in Windward Walks. You know, there was the ambition. And I think Jessica really likes to see that sort of ambition. She's very proud of her walls here, and she wants the best in her eyes. She wants, everyone to put maximum effort in, and we really like this place. So when we got the nod to do that wall, we were like, okay, now we got to bring our A game. We got to really.
We had some quite famous people from Brentna to Faith 47 before you, and the Tats Crew, and really,
standing on the shoulders of giants, we absolutely were, and. We were like, we got to knock this out the park. So what we said was like, we're going to get here 2 weeks earlier, and we're going to start on the 20th of November, so that we'd be done around about the end of the month. We can enjoy Windward Walls that week in the first week of December. We'll have all our work done, and it'll be finished for the year. We had real issues with visas. We were supposed to be getting work visas, and it all got delayed. So in the end, we couldn't get here, because the visas weren't ready, and we had to have them quickly expedited. And we didn't end up rolling in until the 28th of November that year, which meant that now we were going to have to paint all the way through Windward Walls.
Yes.
And not only on top of that, we got here and they'd just redone the wall, but they'd done it in a sort of, it was like sandpaper, and we used pens. So we can't do anything with this. So they then had to take 2 or 3 days to skim the wall and make it completely flat.
Well, actually, I remember that when Tristan was doing the wall opposite, the one with the women's faces. Yeah. He actually had them, the wall isn't imperfect, all wasn't perfect, but it had some things sticking out. And he said, with those things are going to make it look like the women have pimples.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to make it smooth. Yeah. So they had to redo that part. Yeah. So that makes sense.
So we didn't get to start until about the 1st of December. Basil was all kicking off, and then of course when you paint before Basil, there's not too many people around. There's people, and you have to sort of. But when you're painting during Basil, there's streams of people, and you're trying to paint, of course. And we like to be friendly with people and chat, and then we got people all day coming, and it was super intense. But we rose to the challenge. We produced our best piece.
Well, right now they actually put a little barrier so you have more privacy and stuff.
They do, and they do. They put signs up saying, "Do not feed the artists" or something like that. But
when I was here in 2012, and where Obey was doing, Shepherd Ferry was doing the mural here. They didn't have the barriers yet, and they weren't so organized. You could actually, sit there and talk to him. And there was a group of people, gathered around him, and he started painting on one girl's T-shirt and stuff like that. People were asking for autographs. So it was, less organized. And at certain points, security had to come and push people out.
Start giving a little bit of this to someone, then everybody.
But it was like a good half an hour.
Yeah, workflow when you're doing something like this is intense. I was with my good friend Elle last night, and she's just finished her mural. She's been here 3 weeks doing it, and you could see there's like this sort of emotion of like. Every day you get up, get to the wall, put your heart and soul into it, eat something at the end of the night, go to bed. Next day, get up, go to the wall. And they're like really pushing that sort of energy and that effort. And by the end of it, you're kind of like, ooh.
But it's like labor.
Yeah. And you almost can't relax in the days afterwards because you're so used to being hyped to get on and do something. But finishing your wall is a wonderful feeling. And then there you go. You're in the Windward Walls, and it's nice. You sit back and you watch people enjoying it. And
well, I have to say that even like
watching. To me, watching the wall being made is so interesting because once it's done, it's beautiful, but it's not alive anymore in a sense. It's like when you're putting it together, you can see the act of creation.
The process
is fascinating.
Yes, well, we have that as artists to other artists. The first thing I usually look at is, well, how do they do that then? What's their process? Exactly. Is it layering? Is it this? Is it that? And the most enjoyable things are when you can't work out how they actually do that. Right, that's amazing.
I remember once watching.
Mesmerizing.
Yeah.
Well, I forget his name. The guy who does the 3D dissections. His name escapes me. Austrian guy. Anyway, he was painting the Panther.
Oh, Nitros.
Nitros.
Oh,
Yes.
Nitros.
Good old Nicky Nitros.
And I remember, there was just, he was doing the intestines and so, there's just like a brown blob. And then he starts putting a little shading and then it's like, it's beginning to have volume. And then suddenly he just puts a bit of highlights and it's like, wow. And it's like, I'm seeing this in front of me and it's happening. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was just, it blew my mind.
Yeah, extraordinary eyes.
Because, one of the things that fascinates me is how certain artists are very efficient and they don't really, it's like they put only what it needs to be there to create the illusion of depth. And, and it's like, Cypros is very good at this. Cypros should, do a mural very fast. And he seems to put all this detail into it. But if you get up close to it, it's just the minimum amount he needs to create that image. And it's just, that fascinates me. It's such a cool thing to see happen. And it's like such an art education, having been here and seeing all these people paint before me, that it's priceless.
Yeah, well, we've been very, very privileged watching this neighborhood. I mean, year after year after year, watching those artists and getting to know these artists too, because this was the origin of the talking of the wall. I really, like you say, we can take beautiful pictures of the wall, but then we want to know the people behind, and then we got to know you.
How do you get to know this history? What brings them here?
Exactly.
How did they start painting? Why? This is a weird, thing to do. It's not easy. You don't go to school for this.
Yeah.
It's how does this happen?
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I'll tell you something that they should do, is, in my opinion, and that's make the original Hall of Fame that's on 7th down there by the freeway.
Yeah.
That should be kept.
Oh, yeah.
That is like
that 95 wall.
That's what it's all about. So you can have the glitz and the glamour of the windward walls and the different, and obviously that leads to gentrification, which is like a whole different topic, which I don't want to talk about at all.
Yeah,
but what I will say
of my existence.
You've got to keep the roots of why this place is what it is the real graphites who are out here in the day, walking into this nasty area. It was like Michael Jackson.
I mean, without them, none of this would have happened.
It was like a Michael Jackson Thriller video. I remember this guy walking around like this. I
remember, when I started, people, artists would be painting, and they, all these stories about getting, robbed. And it's like, why are you robbing an artist? They don't, they have a shitty phone that's cracked, full of paint. They might have a couple of bucks on them. What are you going to steal? Paint?
Yeah, no, it was dicey down here. The first years we painted here, I remember like 2006, 7, we're up here on 26th and we're painting, and whoever was organised, hey guys, we're going to break down the scaffold now and take the painting. We're like, oh no, we're going to kick on for a couple more hours. I'm like, no, we're breaking down the scaffold in and taking everything in. It's getting dark.
It's getting dark, and then
people wandering down the streets and that.
Everybody coming off the ground.
So it's really important to know that the graffiti artists of Miami who were here before all of this and have always been mostly kind to the tourists of us who come in and once a year or twice a year and paint. They're the most important thing about Miami. And, that Hall of Fame down there should be kept. That's very important in my opinion. The minute that goes, then it's fully gentrified.
I like how you call it.
As pretty as Wynwood is today, and it's safe. You can be here at 2:00 in the morning and walk out drunk and not be too worried that you get arrested, or not arrested, assaulted. I remember the dangerous Wynwood was authentic.
Yeah.
It was vibrant. It was so cool. I mean, I wouldn't come here after sunset back then. Yeah. But every day there was something new. The graffiti guys, were like active all the time.
It's what we were speaking about earlier. The guys who are going down to the Hall of Fame, they're not getting paid for it. They do it because they
do amazing work.
Yeah. They're not getting flown in and put in a hotel and give them money and all that thing. They mean it, and again, that's why it's the true root. That's really that should be cherished.
Yes, it should be. It's definitely so. That famous Wall of Fame, like you call it, the I-95 wall. Well, and on the other side, we had Double Full Connect on the other side, and there was another graffiti writer pocket
Yeah.
where everybody that parking lot
On North Miami.
painting on North Miami.
Mhm.
This was like, and Wynwood World was right here, and then on either side you had all that craft culture, all these writers.
Well, you know,
who are
and
doing
I
such-
think that what he's talking about is the RC Cola wall.
Yeah, the I-95 wall,
Yeah.
the 95 wall. That's how they call it. So
Mhm.
now actually 004 is on the other side.
Yeah.
Ready to move. One more time.
Oh,
One
they're
more time.
moving?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not.
Yes. Well, things
Oh,
are
well.
changing too much. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much for this time.
No,
Yeah, it
it
was
was
fun.
fun.
This
I
was
mean, I always enjoy seeing you.
pleasure
You know.
chopping it up with you.
Yeah, it's nice because when you start answering these sort of questions, it reminds you yourself of the time of all these
Yes.
times for me.
Well, that's the
me-
thing.
me-
You know, the reason I took those pictures actually was for myself.
Yeah.
Because I remember one time passing by a wall and I said, the light sucks. I will take it tomorrow. And I came back the next day and it was painted over, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like, which is one of the reasons why this art is so special, because it can disappear the next day.
Yeah.
And I said, I need to be more careful and more mindful. And I started being more careful about what I did. But it's just, it's so cool to see, I wanted to capture it and preserve it a little bit. And as part of my ADHD, I like to, collect things that make my brain go, and it was just, it was so special a place. And
It really was. And I think if you're an artist trying to get somewhere, I think if you have ambition and hard work and you really love and enjoy doing what you're doing, that's what you need to start that journey. And it may take some time, but if you don't give up and you believe in what you're doing and you like what you're doing, you'll get somewhere. I don't know where you'll get.
Yeah.
It could be the stars.
But
it
you
could
know,
be,
you are getting somewhere that
like-
makes you happy, that fills your heart.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be to the public or to being somewhat famous, but as long as you do something and that makes you feel good, that you go home at night and you sleep with your mind totally clear that I did something nice. I had a good day. I met some friends. We had a drink together. We smoked together, whatever. And then you get home. You're fine. You're good in your own skin for what you do.
I think so. And we live in a time now where there's a lot of people being divided and everyone's got their opinion and they're shouting about this. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't think it always helps too much to shout and scream about what you don't like or about what's going on in society. It starts here. It starts with you. If you want to make a change, like you said, go out, have a good day, be nice to people, like smile, just the basic stuff. Be a good person to the next person, and hopefully that goes on through. If everyone's doing
It
that,
does go on.
we get a better world. So we've always been of the opinion that if we wanted to change the world for the better, it started with me and Bob making artwork that we hope makes people smile, or we hope that makes people have a reaction that they can look at, that they can wonder about. They ask the questions. What does that number mean? What's the process here? All that stuff. And so we'd like to think we are, adding something positive to the world. And that's our sort of mantra. Like, try and be positive, try and be happy. We enjoy what we do, and keep going. Who knows where we go? Who knows where London Police goes from here? It's the 26th year of London Police. We've been doing it a long time. We've always got like nice, interesting projects on the horizon. We'd love to do an animation one day. We're getting into the whole digital side of things as well. And we're all ready next year. You come out here and someone goes, oh, next year I want you to do this. And just we don't have a paycheck at the end of the month.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
You just hope that the whole thing perpetuates and you can keep going. Here we are 26 years later, having started drawing these little characters in a campsite reception in France and thinking, oh, maybe one day these will be great, And in our first ever interview in Amsterdam in 1999, I was quoted, the characters I draw are called the lads.
The lads.
And my quote was, the lads are already famous, just nobody knows it yet. and that was the idea, because I knew it was a character that had sort of a nice, iconic, powerful feel.
Yeah.
And I believed in it. And here we are. We're making great projects. We're not the biggest or best artists in the world, but we're certainly happy and enjoy what we do,
Oh my goodness. We so much enjoy your presence and your art here in Wynwood. I mean, guys, you are part of that history of the Winwood image.
I'd like to think so.
Definitely
Yeah.
wrote the narrative of the Winwood. Your whole chapter.
We're humble enough to know that we're just a small part of it, but it would be lovely.
No, you're a much bigger part than
It would be lovely to think that we're a part of it, but also you guys too, the photographers, the people who blog about it, the people who do this sort of thing. So if people are interested, they can find out more. That's all part of it too. We're all part of a giant machine. And again, if we can try and stay positive, then everyone enjoys it. That's what it's all about. And it's great. We had a nice podcast here. We talked about history. We didn't go into the dark areas.
Oh, there's no need for that. No, there's no need for that. I mean, let's be just as positive as your art is. Make everybody smile. Just having a good time. Just,
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Bob, of course, the other London
Yes.
I want to give a shout out to Douglas, who does everything. Brother Douglas, and Chili Bond. Who's been a brilliant team member of us for years and years. And I'm sorry that they're not here with us. They'd have added to the podcast probably a lot better than I have. But I'm not representing for them.
You've been brilliant, as you always are.
Yeah, good to see you, Pascal.
Just a regular guy. That's
a normal guy.
Yeah, no, you're just a dude. Yeah. You're the dude, or you're the lad.
That's like David Hasselhoff in Baywatch. Just a normal guy saying a few lines.
But what else? It's just like so, Chaz. Thank you a million for what you do podcast, for being who you are, bringing your art, and of course, yes, definitely we are missing Mr. Bob today, but Bob. Chili Bob and everybody, I mean, thank you so much. This was an incredible podcast again. Sandro, thank you so much for
having me
today.
This was a fun time.
Awesome. So thank you to everyone for watching the podcast. Just to remind you, we are at the Peter Tony Experience in Windwalls this year. Thank you so much for everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next podcast. Bye-bye.